All right, everyone. So thankful for you to join us today. This is a special presentation, and we're very excited about it. We get to have a guest with us today, Bruce Keith, who's graciously given us some of his time, of which he normally charges for, to share with the StreetText audience, and also for people that are maybe just learning a little bit more about what StreetText does, and but want to improve the game around lead conversion. You're in the right place. And as always, I just really welcome you. Anybody that comes and sets time aside in their day, especially when they're busy to learn something new. I mean, you guys are the ones that are really growing every single day, and we're excited to see your results throughout this year. So, if you don't mind, on the right-hand side, you're going to see that chat bar. Let us know where you're from. Type in the chat bar on your right. Just let us know. We'll do a couple quick shout-outs to the people that let us know. And also, as we go through this with both I and Bruce and I guess I should say, feel free to ask questions. So, we can even interrupt the presentation a little bit with some questions. I can't always get to all of them, but we do have time at the end, obviously set aside for that as well. But if you do have some great questions as we're going through that you just want some more clarity on, jump in. We like to make this as interactive as possible. So, feel free to jump in with those questions. Okay, so we'll get started here. So I just want to do a couple quick shout outs. Ella's from Vaughan, Irene from Virginia, Jackie joining us from Muscle Shoals, Denise from Charleston. This is great. Terry from Manitoba, Joe Cultus in the house. Thanks, Joel. You're a great client of ours. We're happy to have you on here. Great. Okay, Amanda from California. Okay, so we'll jump right into it here. So Bruce has been in the business for a long time. He's got a lot of experience. And we actually are very, very lucky to have him in here. So he was a very successful realtor as a team. And then he decided, you know what, I'm really passionate about helping others succeed. And that has been so clear. Every conversation that I've had with Bruce, he just resonates that he cares about others' success. And, I think that, he's got a wealth of knowledge, and you're in the right place if you want to just take your game up another level today. And a kind of a fun fact about Bruce, he's a huge sports fan. So if you've got anything to add to that, you can jump in. And a fun fact about me, I am not a sports fan. So it's I know nothing about sports. So it's sort of funny. But Bruce is going to be at the Blue Jays game tomorrow. Big fan. So if you are as well, feel free to shout out. And then we'll kick it off. So Bruce, go ahead and maybe say hi, and you can introduce your slide deck.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to get that started right now. So can you guys, is there feedback coming? Stephen, don't go on mute for a sec. Is there feedback coming through there? Is it okay?
Oh, no, it sounds great. You sound excellent.
All right. Excellent. Okay. There now, what we call for fun is double. So I'm going to talk to you today about exactly how to do that. And we're going to make sure that if you've got questions, you send them in, and Stephen can interrupt me, and we won't, maybe we handle them all at once, but we'll do it as we go. I want to see if I can't get through this material in about 40 to 45 minutes. I've got a ton of great stuff here for you. So let's get started. And the first thing I want you to be comfortable with is that on a level idea works. It's amazing how the two go together. And so this is our first webinar we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a bunch of them, but this is the first one because it just seems such a logical way to kick our working together off. So here we go. We're going to cover three main things today. I'm going to talk to you about what the expectation level should be for lead conversion from both regular leads and internet leads. Then I'm going to show you some ideas about getting it done. And then there's a bunch about how can I be more efficient? I mean, how can I really get through this without getting sucked into that, that black hole where you've got a ton of internet leads and you don't seem to be able to get anywhere with them. Bottom line, I want you to be able to feel that you're going to get more conversions, you're going to be less frustrated, and make more money, make more sales. So just a quickie on me. Stephen touched on it briefly. 10 years selling real estate, a little bit more with Gloria and I. We sold over 1,000 homes in those 10 years. And then we've been in coaching now. Actually, this slide, that should be about 17 years coaching and doing seminars and working with coaching clients one-on-one. For example, I'm coaching almost 100 people now one-on-one every week or every 2 weeks, depending on the program they're in. Plus, I do a lot of seminars. Last year, actually, Inman News sent out a list of what they identified as the top, what they called the best real estate coaches in the business, and I'm very happy to say I was on that list. Okay, we don't need to talk about me anymore. Let's get to work. Here's the agenda. Real estate sales cycle, we're going to touch on that real quick just to show where the lead follow-up and lead conversion, which is B and C on the page here, fits into that. Then we're going to talk about converting internet leads, and then I want to give you some six really good must-dos on lead conversion. So you should be able to walk away today, and what I want you to be able to think about is this. I want 2 or 3 good ideas out of this guy. I don't know who this Bruce Keith guy is, but if he's as good as they say he is, I should be able to walk away with 2 or 3 really good ideas. So that's my mission. Okay, let's go have some fun. The sales cycle. If you've got your workbook, I hope you've got your workbook printed out in front of you, because it really will make this material a ton more beneficial for you. We don't need to spend very much time on this because you already know the sales cycle. Look at the 6 basic steps, right? And it says in your workbook, lead generation. Number 2 is lead follow-up, then lead conversion. Then you make your presentation, then you handle the objections, and then you close. No surprises there. You're going to find a ton of the material that I share with you is going to be like, yeah, you're right. I remember that. That's exactly how it works. So it's going to be very basic, but here's the best part. The basics, once you master them, you become incredibly more efficient. And if you go back quick second here, I wanted to help you with efficiency, how to get it done and how to be super efficient. Okay, so where do we go on this sales cycle? We're really going to focus today on item number 2 and item number 3, which is lead follow-up and lead conversion, right? And some of the future webinars we're going to do, we'll be dealing with other aspects of the sales cycle. So let's now go to the follow-up realities. I mean, the realities of the whole concept. Now think about the way you work with StreetText now. And if you're not working with StreetText now, one of the reasons that we've aligned ourselves with them is because I've got coaching clients actually that I coach who introduced me to StreetText. It was kind of backwards. My coaching client said, this system really works. It's working great for us. Let me tell you what I'm doing. So then, for example, Peter told me about this. He's in a resort area and he's driving all this business, and then we got into it and he said, let me show you what I'm doing with them. So that's how I connected with Stephen and the group there, and we went from there. But if you look at lead follow-up realities, the first thing I want you to think about, now if you've got your workbook there, you're going to see some fill in the blanks in the bottom right-hand corner. So the very first point I want to talk about is that the first step to effective lead conversion is to have a good follow-up system. Because obviously you don't just call them and they say, yeah, come on over and list my house, or yeah, come on over, we want to buy something. It doesn't work that way. We all know that. So what I want you to think about here is this, that in order to have good lead follow-up and have good lead conversion, you've got to be in touch with reality. I can't tell you how many coaching clients I've started working with and they say, okay, I did what you told me, Bruce, for the last 2 weeks. It didn't work. This system doesn't work. And then I always say to them, okay, let's slow down for a sec. What were you expecting to have happen? And always, not because there's anything wrong, but just because they weren't in touch with reality, I had to help them understand what they should expect. So that's what we're going to cover here right now in the lead conversion realities lead follow-up realities is what's realistic. So you probably already know these numbers, but just to have them stare you in the face, it really helps. So point number 4 in your workbook, if you have a one-way communication, whether it's email or text, but it's done through digital, and it's only going one way, you're responding to them, but they're not getting back to you, you can only really expect about a 2 to 4% return. In other words, if you had 100 of those, only 2 to 4 of them would work into a deal, okay? And you probably know that. So what happens if it's two-way? Well, that's point number 5 in your workbook. If it's two-way communication, again, digital, not you face-to-face or not over the phone, then you can triple that return to 6 to 8%. That should be your expectation. It's still not great, but at least you know that it's going to be a lot better. And I'm going to show you a couple of ideas about how you can change it from one-way to two-way. And I know that StreetText, see, what StreetText is doing is, and your connection with them is they're driving these activities to you. Now we've got to convert them. So now let's go to the third piece of the puzzle, which is the last part of lead follow-up realities, which says, once I get through to them personally, once I connect with them by phone or ultimately, obviously, face-to-face, it skyrockets to 20 to 30%. And quite frankly, I know there's people on the line right now that it's even higher than 30%. It certainly is for some of my coaching clients. So this is where it goes, 2 to 4, 6 to 8, and then it jumps once we get to this third part. So the real question is not how do I do this or how do I do this? The real question is how do I get it to the stage where I can break through and make a personal connection? So Stephen, just to touch base with you, I know you guys preach this same approach. Does that make sense in line with the statistics that you've been in touch with over time?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think the lead conversion, it's amazing how much it can start to increase when you start layering in a little bit of consistent follow-up and match with some good expectations and then a long-term approach. So we're big believers on that. Obviously, we really teach around that approach as well. So yeah, absolutely. I mean,
fantastic. And we're going to be talking about a lead follow-up system as we go through here. So great. We're all on the same page. I hope everybody's comfortable with this. The exciting thing is what's possible. And that's what this slide is all about. Okay, good. Let's go on then to what I call lead conversion guidelines. Now, you guys have to bear with me a little bit here. I didn't throw in 7 slides for this. I'm going to cover the 7 lead conversion guidelines. That's why you see 7 keys there. So these are guidelines for lead conversion in general. Just leads that you've got, whether you've got them through StreetText, whether a guy came to an open house, whether it was something that came in on your internet separately, whatever. Here's some really good guidelines for you. Some of them have fill in the blanks, some of them don't. There's no fill in the blanks at the bottom of the page. I will give them to you as we go. The first one says that personal touch is critical. It's sort of like, duh, like we all know that, but we just have to keep reminding ourselves of that. It's ironic. I was talking to a broker this morning from Remax. I coach brokers and mostly salespeople, but I coach this broker. She's a great lady. And she was talking to this guy who was upset in her office who lost a listing to somebody else. And he said, geez, I don't understand this. I've been in touch with them for 6 months. I've been sending them stuff all along. She said, when's the last time? He said, I haven't talked to them. She said, well, so you haven't had any personal contact? He said, well, I've been sending them all this stuff. And we all know that when you hear that story, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know. You hear that story, you think, well, yeah, what did he expect? Well, you see, he expected that personal contact wasn't necessary. So first things first, personal touch is critical. Second point, the second key here is to keep the short-term leads separate from your long-term leads. Now, I call short-term leads 30-day leads. People that are probably going to do something in the next 30 days. It doesn't mean that they've said they're going to do it with you. It's just that you are reading the situation. You're saying, yeah, you know what? This is a hot one. So why would we keep them separate? Because for lead conversion, you don't want to fall into that trap where, that expression, the bad leads will hide the good leads. Keep the good leads, the 30-day ones, separate. Those ones that StreetText drives across your desk and you think, wow, this guy's ready to do something. I'm onto it. Or let's say that your StreetText program or your own program created a lead 6 months ago. At some point, it becomes a 30-day lead, right? That's when you really start going after them. Okay, the third point, it says critical point number 3. All leads must have a specific follow-up date. So we all know that. At the same time, one of my coaching clients sent me the picture of their whiteboard after our last coaching call because I'm following up with them on their leads. How are you making out with the Johnsons? What's going on with that one you went to see last week, et cetera? And ironically, they didn't have the proper dates on there. So I was all over my coaching clients, said, send me back the picture of the whiteboard with the dates changed. So we all know this. Everybody must have a current follow-up date. No excuses, no exceptions, so that we know when we're supposed to call them next. The fourth key says, make sure there's specific lead follow-up time in your daily schedule. Every day you should have at least half an hour set aside as to when you're going to call your leads. Now, you don't get them all when you call, so you've got to maybe do it later in the day or in the evening or whatever, but at least have a time slot in there. My time slot when I sold real estate was from 11:30 to 12:30. Sorry, 11:30 to 12. I would always call the hot ones real early, like, at 8 or 8:30 in the morning. But if I didn't get them, I would then have a time slot in there for 11:30. So make sure there's a time in your schedule for lead follow-up. The next point, the goal is to set an appointment as soon as possible or eliminate the lead. Now, it doesn't mean you throw it away. Those days are gone where we just throw them in the wastebasket. You put them in your system and you follow up. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But the key is to get an appointment. I mean, if we're not sitting down in front of them and taking action with them, then it becomes redundant. And all of a sudden, we're waiting for them to say yes instead of us helping them make the decision. Next one, use scripts every time when communicating. Don't wing it. Use scripts every time. So that's a fill in the blank there for you. Use scripts. Now, there's a lot of people say, I don't like scripts. Well, I will tell everybody on this call that you're already using scripts. They just happen to be your own scripts. It's okay. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It just means make sure you're saying the right things the same way every time. Now, what I do in our coaching program and in our training programs, we've got a package called All the Right Words. I'm not going to get into a big sales pitch for you. If you're interested, it's a very extensive package. It's on our website, brucekeithresults.com. You can see it at the bottom of the slide. You can look it up, okay? It's amazing. There's no other package like it. What I mean by that is it's very extensive. There's almost 300 scripts in there. They're both in text form and on recorded. But anyway, what I suggest to people is take a good script and then adapt it to the way you talk. So make it sound like Fred if you're Fred. Don't make it sound like Bruce unless you're Bruce. So use scripts. Okay, last point on this lead conversion guidelines. Everybody, be rock solid in following up on the exact date for each lead. Critical question. Do I lose more business by overcalling or by undercalling? So fill in those two little fill in the blanks there, and then let me talk to you about that for a sec. Do I lose more business by overcalling and undercalling? I will tell you, I've asked that question 100 times in seminars and stuff. And here's what I know for sure. Everybody always says, you know what? I always lose business because it's not because I call them too much. It's because I don't call them enough. So make sure that you're following up on the exact date. Now, why do you think I have to repeat that? Because you know what? I've been coaching people for a long time, and I've been in sales for many years. And I will share with you this, the most common affliction that salespeople have, and I coach mostly real estate salespeople, but I coach other people like financial advisors. I coach people that sell beauty products. I mean, there's insurance people, all kinds of stuff. Every one of them has the same problem. We don't follow up as well as we should. So do yourselves a favor. Look at these 7 very specific lead follow-up guidelines. Make sure that you are guilty of if you're guilty of anything, make sure you're guilty of overcalling, not undercalling. Stephen, you guys must be finding the same thing, that we lose business because we don't follow up when we're supposed to, and we sometimes let it slip a couple of weeks. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I mean, once it starts to pile up, it almost becomes a burden. And I know I've spoken to a lot of clients too, and the guilt almost starts to rise. It's like, oh, I should have reached out to this client, but now it's been a week, now it's been 2 weeks. And, sometimes that importance of the cadence and that consistency. But yeah, and I absolutely agree. I mean, you're going to lose much more business by not calling than calling. And sometimes there's a little bit of fear on that just because it's a new process, or you're not sure exactly what to do. But when you have clear scripts, and also, so I really highly recommend those scripts that Bruce has. And also when you join a group like our Insider group and you start to see what agents are doing and how they're doing it, and you model that, That's very encouraging, because then at least you know that when you're going to be calling somebody or following up, you know what to say and how to say it. And when you have that confidence, I think it makes it a lot easier just for you to keep that consistency.
Yeah, you know what, everybody? Here's a couple of rules of thumb for you, and these are fun things to sort of look in the mirror and think, yeah, you know what, he's right. One of them is, when in doubt, call them. Oh, I don't know if I should call them. I don't want to upset them. I don't want to irritate them. Listen, think about the second point I'm going to make. When people are motivated, they don't get upset when you call. Think about what I just said. When people they want to do something and you call them, even if it's, even if you're just calling them to touch base and see how they're doing, and, are you guys ready to go out again this weekend and look at a property, or are you ready to sit down and look at a strategy for how we could get your home in the market a little sooner? Even if they're not ready, but they're motivated, they won't be upset when you call. So this was something I learned long ago, is that when somebody gets mad because I call them, like, geez, Bruce, you're kind of bugging me. I hung up the phone thinking, you know what? The only reason he thinks I'm bugging him is because he's not ready to do anything. So now I know what his motivation is. So don't worry about losing the odd person. I will always tell you this: the amount of business you lose by calling people when you're supposed to call them is way less than the amount of business you will lose by calling them when it feels more comfortable and you let it go for a few days. Okay? By the way, I wrote myself a note here just to remind you, if any of these fill in the blanks for your workbook, you don't happen to have, that you miss one, or Bruce, you didn't explain that, I don't understand what's supposed to go in there, the fill in the blanks are at the back of your workbook. So it's all in there for you. Okay? All right. So where are we? We're now at converting internet leads. If you guys have any questions, just put them in there and Stephen will interrupt me. We'll jump all over it, whatever you need. Okay? So now we're going to look at converting internet leads. I call this an art. There really is an art to converting internet leads. Now, what's the definition of an internet lead? Well, anything that comes in a versus the olden days, the non-traditional fashion. So the art of converting an internet lead would be obviously all the leads that StreetText is driving for you. And there's people on this call who are doing incredibly well with StreetText. And I've got, as I said, several coaching clients, and now I introduce it to them and they get all excited about you. And I said, what is it really all about? And I say, listen to these two words just for starters. And they say, what? I say, digital door knocking. Now, I know you guys have heard that from Stephen in the group, but digital door knocking, people, I can just see them, their eyes sort of go like, wow, what is that? And, for those of you that live up in the frozen north, like where we are in Canada, door knocking, I can remember door knocking in the snow many times. And digital door knocking would be a heck of a lot nicer, I think. Okay. All right. So let's talk about converting. Number one, move quickly through the leads. The probability of a sale. Now, remember the statistics I showed you before. The probability of a sale is 3 times less if you don't create a two-way conversation. So if you don't get to the stage of making it two-way, even if it's digital two-way, then you're only going to get a 2 to 4% return versus a 6 to 8. So I've got a line that I used many times, and I've got people that, many of my coaching clients are using this line all the time. Your intention should be to get their phone number, right? At least you can have a conversation. Now, I know a lot of people don't do that anymore, and some people just, they won't give you any phone numbers. They don't even do business that way. But just write this line down. So if you got a second, just write this line down in your workbook. What's the best phone number for me to reach you? I think it's in the workbook. But if you don't have a workbook in front of you, this is a great question to ask. What's the best phone number for me to reach you at? It's a very assumptive one. Hey, this is great, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I'm glad to be talking to you. Or, you're sending them an email. You say, it's great that we're connecting. I've got a couple of things to cover with you. What's the best phone number for me to reach you at? You see, you'd be very assumptive. Just slip it in there. And by the way, it isn't like you're tricking them, for crying out loud. You're helping them. Okay, so that's the first lead conversion tip that you want to think about in the double-double concept. The second one is And I know you guys know this, but just to give you some statistics on it, you've got to act fast. Your goal should be to respond within 5 minutes. And this is a fascinating statistic that I got from NAR years ago, and I know it's probably even tighter now. More than 18 minutes, there's an 80% chance they're gone. Isn't that amazing? Like, we're into the instant gratification society now. It isn't like I'm telling you something you don't know. You already know that. So statistics have shown that the average response from for normal salespeople is in excess of 10 hours. So you get back to them in 5 minutes, it's like, wow, that's amazing. So look at this critical point number 4. This is the second fill in the blank there. People don't get upset that you don't get back to them with you. They get upset if they don't know when they're going to connect with you. So just think of this little, let me paint a little picture for you. Let's say you were in your office and there's a door on your office and you're busy. If you put a sign on the door in your office, so I'm just giving you a total different picture here, but consider this visual. If you put a sign in your office, come back later, and that's all you left, people are going to be upset. But if you put a sign on the door in your office and said, come back at 11 a.m., that's fine. You see, people don't necessarily expect that you're sitting there, you got nothing to do, waiting for them. Well, mind you, we've all had those kind of clients, and those kind of clients we don't want. But most people understand. What people get upset with is when they don't know when you're going to get back to them or when you're available. So if you're tied up, see critical point number 4 there, let them know when you'll be getting back to them. Sorry, I'm tied up on a showing, or I'm sorry, I'm tied up on a home inspection or something. I'm on an appointment. That's all you need to say, really, is I'm on an appointment. I'll get back to you between 11:30 and 12. That's enough. Then you'll hang on to that lead. So then it will be a potential lead conversion. So this is a very important one for you to be comfortable with. Now, if there's no phone number, send them an email response immediately. And here's how you do it, or a text. Send them an email response immediately answering their question. So the first step is to answer their question. Okay, everybody? Second part is this little line. When can we talk? That's all you do. When can we talk? What's the best phone number for me to reach you at? You get the idea? All you're doing there is you're migrating it from a digital connection to a face-to-face / phone connection. Okay. In concert with that, here's the next thing I want to share with you. If there is no phone number, if there is a phone number but there's no answer, then send a text. And do it right away, right? Now, here's the best part. We're all starting to learn, and some of you are this way yourselves anyway, so you'll even understand it more readily, that some people prefer text. And there's customers, we've all had them, that they don't even want to connect over the phone or face-to-face. So play that game for a little while. Eventually, you're going to have to connect with them, and then eventually they're going to have to connect with you. But it wouldn't hurt for you just to send an immediate text. Next point. Can you put, everybody, this is point number 6 in your workbook there. Put a star beside this one. This is one of the best tips. If you only walk away from today's session with this tip, this will make you a ton of money. And it is one of the best things I can share with you. It's called the question game. And here's the issue. Every communication that you send must end with a question. So understand where I'm going here. If you're not speaking to them, or if it's not face-to-face, and you're communicating two-way, always end with a question. And so let's say, for example, they were saying, I just wanted to know how much the home was over on Main Street. So you would answer their question. It's listed at $795, and then you would answer then you would end up with another question. Never, ever finish a communication if you don't end with a question. That's why this is such an important thing. You see, in other words, you don't want the conversation to die at your end. And one of the ways you can make sure that doesn't happen, or at least put the odds in your favor is to end with a question. You see some of those questions there? So if they said, how much is that home on Main Street? It's listed at $750. What price range are you looking for? Or how many bedrooms do you need? Or what area do you have in mind? You guys get the idea? So put a huge star beside this point. So if you, I don't want you to do this, but if you closed off right now and you stopped watching this webinar and taking part, this would be one of those points that you'd say, you know what? That was amazing. That one is going to make me a world of money. So I will tell you right now, as soon as I learned that secret, now you'll see in the scripts and dialogues that we do, and in the all the right words package, etc., you'll see in there, and I do this with my coaching clients all the time, when we're role playing, when we're practicing, when I'm teaching and I'm showing them how to handle objections and everything, we always end with a question. Even if you just said, for example, let's say we're talking to, so this is different situation. Let's say you were talking to somebody about listing their home, and you were sitting in front of them even, and they said, so what are you going to do to sell my home? So let's say you said, I'm going to door knock the neighborhood and find out who else might have a friend or relative that's going to move into the area. So let's just say that was the thing you were going to say, right, to answer their question. So here's how you do it. I'm going to door knock the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. Here's why. And then you would say, isn't that the kind of extra effort you're looking for? You guys get the idea? It's always end with a question. Okay, next point. So I've talked about it enough, but it's a huge point. Next one. And this is important that I help you guys with this, especially with the way you're working with StreetText, because the StreetText technology and system works so well with this point. First point says, understand that when to let go of following up. You know, at some point you got to say to yourself, this is crazy. This guy, he can't make up his mind. He's never going anywhere. Now, we've all had those customers, right? We've all had those people, whether they're buyers or sellers, you think to yourself, you know what? We could be doing this for 3 more years and we'll never get anywhere. So you've got to learn to stop chasing them. So we can't be chasing them forever. Now, here's the key. Don't throw them out, because StreetText has the follow-up system and the reminder system with your database that's awesome. And when you put those two together, it doesn't mean you'd say, well, this guy sucks. He's a waste of time. I've had enough. Maybe you've had enough at calling him every week, but maybe you should now start calling him every 30 days or every 90 days. Don't throw them out. Just understand that you don't have to keep chasing them. So here's why. Don't try and make something out of nothing. Find better leads and go after them. Now, there's only one reason. Now, think about this, everybody. This is another one of these real wisdom things that I want you to be comfortable understanding. There's only one reason we work with poor leads. What do you think it is? So if I had a stack of leads to show you, I said, here's 5 really good ones, and here's 5 that are 90 days or more, which pile would you take? So I'm asking you guys now. And you'd say, well, give me the good ones. I'm not going to take the other ones first. Well, of course. So then why would we work with the 90-day or the 6-month leads at all? Well, it doesn't mean you throw them out. But the only reason we stick with them and we try and nurture them is because we convince ourselves that that's what we should be doing, is chasing them. Listen, we don't work with those leads only for one reason, because we don't have any good ones, right? If you had a pile of good ones, you wouldn't be running around chasing the bad ones. So all I'm suggesting to you is, I don't say throw them out, just don't give them the same amount of attention that you give your hot leads. Remember your 30-day leads, the one we're going to keep separate? Okay, so Stephen, jump back in here. They don't have to throw them out. They just don't have to chase them as much. Is that right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. Sorry. Kicked in there a little bit on the stream's audio. So if you guys are getting feedback, I do apologize. I'm going to try to.
No, it's okay.
Try that works. Oh. Bruce, they might be able to get feedback.
No, it's okay. I can.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry, feedback on my side. I do apologize. And Joe Cultis wrote something really good here. You know, he said the best way to not make money on any of your leads that you would deem less important is to delete them or to give up on them entirely. And one of the things that he mentioned here in the comments for the address-only leads, which are one of the most difficult types of leads to follow up with, how important it is that you still send information about yourself and a CMA to that particular lead. And that's really what Donna has done such a fantastic job of, and obviously Joe's doing a fantastic job of. So, I agree. You don't want to put as much effort into those leads. You want to bring them back to you. But the key is that you still need to have a process for leads that are definitely not as interested as some of your other leads.
Perfect. And think, everybody, I know you guys have this visual in your mind. You're in sales. I mean, the conveyor belt exists in every sales organization. You know that lead conveyor belt? Well, sometimes that conveyor belt, I mean, heaven forbid, but we've all had it happen. It could be 18 months long, right? And you think, okay, am I going to put as much effort into that 18-month lead? Because I don't even know when they're going to do something. And then eventually something happens and they become a 30-day lead. So they're on the conveyor belt. Don't kick them off the conveyor belt. Just don't put the same amount of effort into them that you would for a 30-day lead. That's all. Okay. We're making great progress here. You guys are doing terrific. So now we're going to go to the 6 lead conversion must do. So we're just going to go through these, and then we'll be, hang on, I'm just checking my notes. Yeah, then we'll be done. So then we can see if you guys have any more questions. But thanks to Joe and Donna for their confirmation of what we're talking about. So that's awesome, guys. Okay, here's something I want you to think about. Think about, this is point number 10 in your workbook. I've got 3 slides here I'm going to show you. And this has to do with you following up on time. Don't forget, this is about follow-up and conversion. Understand what I call the law of diminishing intent. Now, the law of diminishing intent is like this sailboat. You see it in the harbor there. It's leaving the harbor. It's a beautiful day. The seagulls are out. You can hear them. There's kids on the beach. And this boat is starting to leave the harbor. It's right in front of you. You can see it just like this one. As it gets further away, it becomes smaller. And eventually, as it gets further away, it disappears. So what the 2 fill in the blanks there are, there's a couple of no-nos for lead follow-up. And it says, make sure that you're not guilty of, or make sure that you are following up quickly, and make sure that you're staying in touch consistently, which is what Stephen's just talking about. So think about this for a sec. The reason that sometimes that customers change their mind is because they lose the enthusiasm for the decision that they initially contacted you about, or the way you connected with them. And it isn't just the StreetText type leads we're talking about. We're talking about all of them, right? When you first contact somebody, they get excited. We've all done that, right? We get excited. Oh, we're going to buy a new car. Well, let's go look at some cars, and away we go. And then if we don't stay on it, it becomes a little less visible, and eventually it disappears like that. So our job for lead conversion is to make sure for the good ones, the hot ones, that we do keep it consistent. Now, we've already talked about that, but here's what I will tell you as a good rule of thumb, and it won't be in today's notes, but I will tell you, a hot lead should never be less than once a week that you contact them. Never be less than once a week, even if you have nothing to say other than giving them a quick update. So I just want to encourage you that if you feel it's hot, then don't mark it over more than a week, okay? Point number 11 says, if you find out that they're feeling a little bit hesitant, then I've got 4 hesitation questions here for you. These hesitation questions are in your notes, and they come from all the right words. So if they seem to be stuck, let me just role play this with you, and you'll see how beautifully this works. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm sensing some hesitation in your moving forward to put your home on the market. Is that true? Now, let me stop right there for a second, everybody. You already know the answer to that question when you said, is that true? You made a statement. You said, I'm sensing some hesitation. Then you said, is that true? Well, Bruce, why would I ask it if I already know the answer is yes? Well, because you want them to open up and talk to you. That's part of, that's selling, right? So the second question is, thanks for explaining that. So let's just say, yeah, well, we're a little bit concerned about, we're not sure where we would move to. Well, thanks for explaining that. What specifically is holding you back? Well, we're not sure if we want to move to Glen Abbey or if we want to move to North Brampton. We're just not sure right now. I said, okay, but my job is to help you with that. So if we were able to deal with that issue to your satisfaction, I mean, if you felt more comfortable, is there anything else getting in the way? Would we then be able to go ahead with your plans? Well, I suppose, but we just can't figure it out. No problem. That's my job. That's what I'm here to help you with. I've got some specific ideas on how we can solve these concerns of yours. Let's get together for a strategy review session and we can discuss your options and help you get moved. We'll talk about those two areas and see what works best for you. Do you want to see me today at 5 o'clock or do you want to see me tomorrow at 6? Okay. What we've done there is and you guys know this technique, it's called isolate the objection. So if you want to write that down, you might want to. Isolate the objection, because if you go back to question number 3, if we were able to, number 2, we said, is there anything else holding you back? They said, well, no, blah, 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 it's just this. You say, okay, well, if we were able to deal with that issue, now we're going to help them handle the objection. So I hope you guys are getting the idea there. These 4 hesitation questions, again, they come from that All the Right Words package we have. But just think about this. Sometimes people don't know. It isn't that they're being difficult. It isn't that they're not motivated. It's sometimes they have a hard time working through the minefield of the big decision they're trying to make. Okay? Your job, by asking the 4 hesitation questions, helps isolate the objection and nail it down. And by the way, if for question number 2, they said, well, actually, there's one other thing too, you're going to have to make sure you deal with that one too. But at least you know, when people are just hesitating, the biggest problem for you is, what's the problem? Right? You're thinking to yourself, give me a break. I've done everything you asked me for. Well, you know what? We got to dig a little deeper. So that's what number 11 is all about. Okay, look at number 13 here. Here's the second must do. Keep loading up your conveyor belt. So every single day, you've got to make sure StreetText kicks in, because they're the ones that are going to keep helping you load up your conveyor belt. Is it your only source of new leads? No, but it's a darn big one, and it's a very effective one. So I'm not here to tell you that StreetText is the only answer for you, but I will guarantee it's going to help you load up your conveyor belt, and it will help you give you leads to follow up with. You also have to do the other things that go with it. Excuse me, I've got a great expression that says there's very little wrong in this business that 2 hours a day prospecting won't fix. Now, if there's somebody on the line that says, I hate prospecting, don't worry, you're not alone. I'm just saying there's very little wrong in this business that 2 hours a day prospecting won't fix. Part of your prospecting is lead pursuit and lead follow-up, okay? So let's look at follow-up in a longer-term package. Make sure you've got, now I know StreetText does this with you too, so set up an automatic email drip system. Never lose sight of this fact. It's a numbers game. I know you guys know that, but we've got to keep reminding ourselves of that all the time. Selling is a numbers game. If I talk to 100 people and somebody else talks to 200 people, they're going to sell more than me. Okay, so you've got to establish a tight minimum standard that helps you allow to keep moving things along. So just look at the wisdom I'm throwing at you here. If there's no personal contact after 3 to 4 attempts personally, then move them over to your drip system. I hope that makes sense. Move them over to your drip system, because you don't have time to keep chasing them. Like Stephen said, don't throw them away. Just don't keep chasing them in the same approach that you're using when they're a hot lead, okay? And again, as it says in the notes, don't be attached to the outcome. You know, some good ones are going to slip through. You know what? We just don't know who they are, but you can't drive yourself crazy trying to keep in touch with everybody with the same intensity. Okay, next point. We're getting down to the crunch here. Maintain a strong mindset. What is this all about? Well, keep reminding yourself, of course, that personal contact is a critical issue. It's the most effective method. At the same time, what's the mindset factor? Well, you're going to get rejection, and you also know that only the second point here in your workbook, and only a small percentage of internet inquiries are going to respond. Go through them quickly. Don't drive yourself crazy. My favorite 4-letter word, everybody, you might want to write this down. It's real simple. is next. N-E-X-T with an exclamation mark at the end of it. Like when I'm doing seminars, I say, okay, everybody, let's go. 1, 2, 3. And everybody goes, next, because you just got to learn how to move on. That's where the mindset comes in. The third part of this, it says, because of the mindset of the consumer, because sometimes they're not motivated or they got lack of intent, don't expect that there's some magic pill that you can say a magic line and it turns them over and they say, oh, you got me. Where do I sign? We know that doesn't work, right? Go through the numbers, keep moving. That's why StreetText has built their business so successfully, because they're going to keep providing you with new leads. Some are hot, some aren't, some convert later on, 6 months down the road. Last point, it's not personal. Understand the rejection. Understand the need to say next. We all have it happen. Even in my coaching business and the seminar business, I'm saying next. There's always somebody at the back of the room that sits there with their arms folded with a scowl on their face. And I'm thinking, if I had to worry about that guy, I'd be in a rubber room. Forget about it, Bruce. Move on. Same for you guys. Next. Okay, so the end result, everybody. More conversions, less frustration, and more sales, because you're going to follow these approaches. If we were doing a seminar now, we were all in the same room, I'd be asking 2 or 3 or 4 of you, say, give us a couple of things here that you're going to do differently. What is it that you're going to do differently? Well, Bruce, I'm going to make sure I've got my hot leads on a whiteboard, and then I'm going to keep them separate, and I'm going to know exactly what date I'm supposed to follow them up. I'm going to let go of people faster. That's another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that I isolate their objection to help them move forward. All these things. So what are the things you would do? So I want you to go through your notes at some point in the next couple of days and say, what are 1 or 2 things I can take out of this? How about that superstar one that says, don't ever make a statement without ending with a question? That's one of the best sales techniques you'll ever get. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up, and then we'll turn it back to you guys and see if there's any questions. Here's what we've covered. We don't need to go through it in detail. You know exactly what to do, right? Let me remind you that I spend half my week doing seminars and the other half doing coaching. I coach a ton of people, and we've got coaches that we work with us. Here's how our coaching works. I'll make it real simple. It's $395 to $995 a month. We don't have long-term contracts, so you don't get locked in. We don't do that. And if you're interested, send in the questionnaire in the back end of your workbook. Just send it to us, and I'll schedule a free coaching session with you to see if there's a fit. No obligation. I'm not going to be trying to sell you something. We'll know between the two of us if there's a fit pretty quick. And it'll be a 30-minute coaching session, the same as if it was a regular coaching scenario. So that's it. That's all we need to talk about. I'm ready to answer questions. Gloria, can you just put it back so I can see if there's any questions coming in there?
No. Thanks so much, Bruce. What I'll do is as anybody writes any questions, and most of them we've kind of answered as we've gone through it right now.
Good.
Maybe what I'll do is if any of you guys have anything else to ask, just feel free to ask that on the right-hand side now. And I'm just going to share my screen here. And then, Bruce, if you don't mind as well, it seems fine now, but if you do hear any feedback, if anything comes through, you can just mute your mic for a second if needed. But otherwise, it seems fine right now. So big thanks, though, Bruce, to that as well. One of the big takeaways from that for me is really that asking that question at the end. We've just found that even it doesn't matter if I'm sending emails to clients or like over and over again, or even just in my personal life, if I send a short email with a short question, I'm much more likely to get a response because it's easy for someone to take action. So I really embrace, we've seen that work over and over again in our business and in my personal life. So thanks for sharing that. And then also, Bruce,
can I just throw a quickie in there on that one?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Everybody, one of the ways you can do that, asking the question, it doesn't have to be some amazing sales question. Even if you just ask, one of the times maybe what we'll do is we'll do a session with you guys on questioning technique and an objection, and something that we call Stump the Coach, where I will handle objections live for you. Well, one of the techniques, all you need to do in there for this type of putting a question at the end is do what we call a tie-down question. So a tie-down question is to say, boy, it's pretty cold out, isn't it? That's a tie down question, isn't it? Is the tie down. So you could say, does that make sense? Fair enough. Okay, right? Those are tie down questions. So if you make a statement, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, they've done a lot of work in the backyard here, haven't they? The haven't they is the tie down question. The statement was they've done a lot of work in the backyard. So it doesn't have to be some amazing technique that you spent hours training yourself for. Just start throwing in the tie down questions at the end, and that'll help you. Okay?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great way to keep the conversation going, and then just to learn more about them. Yeah, so that's awesome. Okay. And then, you know, the other thing for all of you, I'm not sure many of you have coaching right now in your life, but I mean, if you take a look at any athlete, especially if they're a high performance athlete, they have multiple coaches in different areas of their life. I mean, it might be even a mindset coach. They might have a diet coach. You know, they're going to have their coaches on the field or in the particular sport that they play. You know, and we found that too in our own growth in our business. You know, the business is often held, or it's kind of held captive at the level of personal development of whoever is running it. And we've just found that it has been having coaches in our life that we pay for has made a huge difference. And so, I mean, Bruce is maybe the one for you. But I definitely recommend a coach in your life. And I think that, you know, Bruce coming here and sharing all this, he's got such a good wealth of knowledge that, you know, this might be an opportunity for you to start thinking, you know, maybe having a coach in my life, this is the right time for it. You know, and sometimes even we've just found that, you know, it's not about things feeling right. You know, you think to yourself, maybe this isn't the right time, but that's actually the best time to have a coach in your life. They're able to help you, you know, get clarity and see through some of the things that are going on in your world. And even a small little micro adjustment in your life now, you know, in 4 or 5 years, you start to see that how that small adjustment has made such a huge impact on your career going forward. So I just wanted to take a moment to just chat a little bit about what we do, and then also a couple of things that are happening on Facebook. Obviously, you know, Facebook is our platform. That's what we work on. That's all we do. We really specialize on the Facebook side. And Facebook has been in the media a lot in 2018. I mean, it started off in the media with, you know, Mark basically saying that he's going to make a number of changes to the newsfeed and with ads to make sure that, you know, Facebook stays relevant and it doesn't become overwhelming for the user base and for people to spend time on Facebook. And the reason being, of course, this is what we all want. You know, 80% of adults are on Facebook in North America, and that's incredible. I mean, people spend a huge amount of time on Facebook. And for a real estate agent, there isn't a more special time than now to be able to obviously take advantage of that. And the changes that Mark were making were freaking out some advertisers, but really he's doing the right thing for the community. But then, you know, a couple of weeks ago, or actually just last week, the scandals released that, you know, a bunch of data has slipped through on Facebook's side. And I'm not going to go into the details on it. There's a lot of media on that. And, you know, and so Facebook is making some pretty drastic changes right now to make sure that they get ahead of this and that they prevent any of this from ever happening again. And, you know, it wasn't Facebook's deliberate, however they get painted, you know, we've dug into it a bit ourselves. It was really just a misuse of the data that unfortunately was available, but it was a misuse of the data. So they're just making sure that that's not possible in the future. And so they're doing a number of things to the developers, to people like us. But one of the big things that they're doing to make sure that they're actually removing a lot of the third-party data targeting from Facebook. And this is a big deal for a lot of advertisers, especially in the US. What this basically means is that if you could previously target on Facebook and say, hey, I want to show my ads to homeowners that make more than $100,000 a year in this particular zip code, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to show my ads to only those people. And a lot of that data is being removed, such as homeowners and the income type, and any third-party data, partner category data is being removed. And so, you know, that might freak you out a little bit, but it actually doesn't freak us out. And the reason being is that we started doing Facebook ads for our clients long before those partner categories were ever available. And because of the way that we developed our own algorithm and how we ran our ads, and we also ran ads for a lot of agents in Canada as well, which didn't have the partner categories, we needed to be creative and find ways to make sure that we could still run effective ads without the partner categories. And, you know, to be honest, even after we had figured that out, even when we added in the partner categories, it sometimes helped an ad and it sometimes actually hurt an ad. So we never relied on it. It wasn't a big part of what we did. It was helpful at times, but it was definitely not something that we leaned on. And as a result, we're not actually disappointed at all that these partner categories are being removed, but it will upset and definitely frustrate others that were relying on it heavily. They're just going to have to learn how to run the ads effectively without the partner categories. And then the other thing is I actually think that we'll probably see a few advertisers leave Facebook as a result. And that's actually good for you. It's good because it means, it means that there's going to be a little less money that's going to be spent on Facebook. Now, I don't think there's going to be a huge adjustment. I think that the majority of people are getting great value from Facebook. But there'll be a couple industries, maybe in the financial sector, that really relied on that data. And without it, they're just no longer going to be effective. And that means that for the rest of you, Facebook is still an auction at the end of the day, and people are competing to have their ads shown. So it runs completely different than AdWords, but there still is an auction component. And as a result, you're going to spend a little bit less to get in front of your audience, especially if it's still done right. So I want to take a moment to share that. If you've got any other questions, you can reach out to me on that afterwards. But we work closely with Facebook, obviously, to abide by all their policies, but also so we stay ahead of these things as they come out. So what does StreetText do? We run ads for you. As Bruce said, we digitally door knock specifically on the seller side. And we actually have some incredible new features coming out that we're going to hint at our next webinar as well. It's going to really open up this game for you. So, I mean, if Facebook is big for you now, it's just going to be so much bigger in the next couple of weeks, specific on the StreetText side. So we're going to be releasing that to our clients first, but just stay tuned because we're going to talk a little bit about some of those updates on our next webinar as well. And then, of course, when leads come in and you start collecting all that information, we capture all of that for you in our StreetText platform to make it easy for you to work with those leads and then, of course, nurture them. And so we have an insider group. We have a great community of agents that help one another so that they can get the best results from their leads. And then also we have some built-in drip campaigns built into that as well to go alongside of that. So if you are interested, I'll just speed up here a little bit to make sure that we stay in our time here for this webinar. If you are interested in taking action or learning a little bit more how StreetText works, we actually do a 7-day, what we call a trial or test your market. And how it works is that it allows you to run an ad with us with our company on Facebook over a 7-day period. There's a $9 a day ad budget that goes into that. And then we take the difference. So it's about 63 of that goes directly to Facebook. I think we get about $36 or so for that to run the 7-day test. And on that, you're going to receive 3 great calls as well. You're going to learn how your ad is performing in Facebook. So, if your ad is not performing, even in that trial, that 7-day test, our guys are going to be letting you know, hey, maybe we need to add another zip code, or maybe we need to change the area a little bit, or maybe we need to try this. And they're going to work with you on that to make sure that you're going to get the results that you're looking for. Obviously, we're going to cover a lot of the best conversion strategies to help give you a kickstart so you're ready to go whenever your leads come in. And then also helping you integrate StreetText into your current systems if you're using a different CRM. We're going to walk that through with you as well. And I actually have a special offer, but just as I get into that, I just want to launch this. So if you are interested in taking action or starting the 7-day test and working with StreetText, I mean, this is the time. I mean, there is no better time. I mean, every time is a good time to generate leads and make more and to basically turn those leads into business. But this just happens to be the spring market. It happens to be the time when you want to be in front of people. So I highly recommend you taking action and doing that. So one thing I just want to add is that, we do have a special offer right now, and that is that Donna Swansea is someone that we've been working closely with. She's one of our clients. So she consistently, so in 2017, she did 44 listings, and in 2016, she did about 44 as well, about 45, I'm not sure, but it was almost identical for 2 years in a row on StreetText. And she had a unique approach to how she converted her leads and what she did. And of course, everybody was, chasing her down saying, Donna, how do you do this? Can you share your BombBomb video? Can you share what you say on Messenger? Do you use Messenger? How do you work with just curious leads? So she was being bombarded. So we worked closely with Donna to build out a course so that you could just basically follow her exact system. This first module obviously is going to go through all of her introduction. We have a second module for the address-only submissions. Third and fourth. So you're going to go through her entire system. You're going to see everything, how it's all laid out, how she has made the most of her StreetText side. So it's really going to give you those clear step-by-step follow-up strategies. It's going to give you all the scripts that she uses, all of her own templates. And it's going to allow you just to know how to get the best out of your Facebook business page as well, and then also how to pick your right farm area in there as well. So it's definitely for agents. I mean, if you're very experienced and you've got all that figured out and you're getting good results, that's awesome. I mean, that's great. This may not be for you, but if If you're looking to just get that kickstart on your program, any of your leads, and you want to take it to another level above and beyond any of those 3 initial calls you're going to get, I really do recommend this. Dawn is such an amazing agent to work with, and she's put this together for you. So it does cost $150, but I do have a special offer for you today. And the reason that there's a fee is that you can just think about it in two ways, really. One is that Dawn is she's continually updating this, and she's investing her time in this to give you everything that she uses. So first and foremost, I think you'd all agree it's good to compensate her for that. She should be rewarded for putting all of that work together to make sure that it's easy for you guys to follow and also to consistently update it. And the other thing is that, when you pay for something, you're invested. And when you're invested, you're going to take action. And there's so much good knowledge in this course that when you should be invested in it. You should spend the money, and you should feel that, hey, this is something that I really want to invest in and take my business to the next level. And then actually there is a money back guarantee if it didn't work for you, but we've had nobody take us up on that yet because the course has tons and tons of value in it. So right now, if you sign up for the trial, we're actually going to give you a promo code so you can save 15% on this course. So we'll send that to you after you start the trial. So if you take action and you start that 7-day test with us, we're going to immediately send you this link so that you can have this available. And you'll have a couple days on it to decide when you want to take advantage of it, but I highly recommend it. Really will give you that good footing as you launch, turning these leads into sellers and clients and referrals and beyond. So how much is this worth to you? Well, imagine just one more deal by following Donna's strategies. Obviously, that pays for your course multiple times over. And again, you're going to have all of her templates and scripts and everything that she does to get the best, the results that she has from the system. So I'm going to hand it back to questions. So once again, feel free to jump in if you guys have any questions. Not a huge question audience today, but Bruce, do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, no, I just think it's really exciting about the whole concept for everybody of just saying, okay, how can I raise the bar on what I do? And that's really what this is all about. Like it's how do I put high test into my car? So there's some high test ideas here today, and the Donna program, for example, would be another example of how I put high test in. So you just have to decide, everybody, how do I, there's 9 million ideas out there. What's the best one for me? But I will tell you this, you don't go to the doctor when you're healthy, you go to the doctor when you're sick. So your guys aren't sick, you just want to get better, right? So that's what all these ideas are about. So I think it's really exciting what's happening, and congratulations to those of you that have been on the call, because you know what? You're the ones that are doing something about it, not the people that are sitting home eating donuts. So have fun.
That's awesome. Thanks, Bruce. And I just want to remind everybody, so our next webinar that's coming up, which we'll send you a reminder on as well, we're going to dive into a lot of the specific conversion strategies that our clients have been using to get some great results on our platform as well. So make sure you join us for that. And we're also going to be releasing in that webinar a sneak peek into what we're talking about with some of this new stuff that's coming to StreetText. So stay tuned. We're really excited to have you on that event as well. And I just want a big thank you to Bruce. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for taking time out of your life as well so that you could share all that knowledge with everybody here today. Really appreciate you. And then again, appreciate all of you for being here today. We're just so thankful. Like Bruce said, you guys are, you're looking to level up. You want to go to that next level, and that's why you're here. And I think there were some great nuggets that will give you an edge and just help you level up that little bit further. So thanks so much for being here. So I'll conclude the event. We're right on the hour, so that's perfect. And then Bruce, if you just hang on for a moment, I'll just chat to you a little bit afterwards. So thanks, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today.